My sister posted my husband's private moments online, hacked into his devices, and her hidden camera collection exposed the real horror. Now she's acting like I'm the one at fault for being upset. It's strange how life can change in an instant, how something so normal, so routine, can suddenly turn into a nightmare. I always thought my family was solid, unshakable. My sister, Emily, and I had our differences growing up, but we were close, or at least I thought we were. I never imagined that she would be capable of something so monstrous, something that would tear apart everything I held dear. It all started a few months ago when my husband, Greg, began acting distant. It wasn't anything obvious at first. A few late nights at work, a couple of unexplained phone calls. I told myself I was being paranoid. After all, we'd been married for 5 years. We had a good life together, no major problems. Greg was a good husband, supportive, caring. Or at least, that's what I thought. But the little things kept piling up. I noticed that Greg had become more protective of his phone. He started locking it whenever I was around, which was unusual for him. I brushed it off at first, thinking he was just being cautious. Maybe he had work emails or private messages. But then, I found something. One night, while Greg was in the shower, I picked up his phone to check something for him, his calendar, nothing more. I had no intention of snooping, but I saw an alert pop up on the screen. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize. My heart dropped as I read the message. I know you're with her, but I can't stop thinking about you. I need you. I was stunned. Who was this person? Why was Greg getting messages like that? My first instinct was to confront him immediately, but something held me back. Instead, I made a mental note to look deeper. Over the next few days, I started noticing more odd things. Greg's passwords had changed, he'd used the same one for years, and now it was different. His social media accounts had new security settings, and he was becoming increasingly protective of his privacy. I decided to investigate further, but I couldn't find any concrete proof of what was going on. It wasn't until I went to visit Emily that I discovered the truth. I hadn't seen Emily in a while, and we had arranged to catch up over coffee. As I sat across from her, I noticed she seemed unusually tense. She was fidgeting with her phone, avoiding eye contact, and acting strange, stranger than usual. I tried to brush it off, but something didn't feel right. It wasn't until later, when I went to use her bathroom, that I stumbled upon something that would change my life forever. I was washing my hands when I noticed a small black device tucked under the edge of the sink. It looked like a camera, a hidden one. My curiosity got the best of me, and I grabbed it. I froze as I realized what I was holding. It was a small, portable camera, the kind used for surveillance. The kind that could be placed anywhere, without anyone knowing. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. Why did Emily have this? What was she doing with it? I turned the camera over and found a small SD card. My mind raced as I quickly pocketed the card and left the bathroom. I knew I had to find out what was on it. That night, I went home and plugged the SD card into my laptop. The video files that appeared on the screen made my stomach churn. The first video was of Greg, my husband, sitting at his desk at home, scrolling through his phone. I recognized the setting immediately. It was our living room. My heart pounded as I watched, horrified, as the video played on. The footage was clear, and it showed Greg in intimate moments, moments I thought were private. The videos continued, each one showing more of Greg's private life, his private moments. There were even clips of him changing, unaware that he was being watched. My hands shook as I watched the disturbing footage. It was all so wrong, so invasive. I felt like I was losing control of everything. But then, I saw something that made my blood run cold. One of the videos showed Emily setting up the hidden camera in the corner of the room. She was standing in the doorway, watching Greg as he worked. She had been filming him for months. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Emily, my own sister, had been spying on Greg, hacking into our lives. But it wasn't just the cameras that shook me, it was what came next. I went to check Greg's phone again, and this time, I found the truth. The same messages I had seen earlier weren't from a stranger. They were from Emily. My sister had been messaging Greg, pretending to be someone else, all while secretly filming him. It was a twisted game, a manipulation. The final blow came when I found out that Emily had been posting the videos online. The footage was everywhere, on her private blog, in encrypted forums, and even on hidden social media accounts. She had turned Greg's most private moments into entertainment, exploiting his vulnerability for her own sick pleasure. I couldn't believe it. I was shattered. How could Emily do this to me? How could she betray my trust in such a cruel, disgusting way? She had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The next day, I confronted her. "Emily," I said, my voice trembling with rage and disbelief. "What the hell is wrong with you? How could you do this to me?" "To Greg?" Emily didn't seem surprised. She looked at me with a calmness that made my blood boil. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said nonchalantly, as if we were discussing the weather. I pulled out my phone and showed her the footage from the camera, the messages, and the blog posts. "This," I said, my voice shaking. "This is what you've been doing. You've been spying on Greg, posting his private moments online. You've hacked into his phone, his devices, everything. How could you do this?" Emily's expression didn't change. She shrugged. "I don't see what the big deal is, Emma. It's not like he's your property. I was just helping him see what he's missing. You're not even good enough for him. He deserves someone who actually sees him." I recoiled as if she had slapped me. "You've ruined everything. You've destroyed my marriage, my trust, my family. How could you be so heartless?" Emily rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. You're overreacting. It's just a few videos. Greg isn't some angel, you know. He's been distant, and I was just trying to help him. You should be thanking me for opening his eyes." I felt a surge of nausea. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was gaslighting me, turning the situation around and making it seem like I was the one at fault for being upset. "Help him," I whispered, the hurt settling deep in my chest. "You've ruined everything. You've destroyed my marriage. You've invaded his privacy, and now you're trying to act like I'm the crazy one for being upset? You're sick, Emily." She didn't even look guilty. "Maybe if you weren't so caught up in your perfect little life, you'd see things for what they really are. I'm just trying to make sure Greg doesn't get stuck with someone who doesn't understand him." I felt like I was drowning. My own sister had turned against me, and there was nothing I could do to fix it. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. As I left her apartment that day, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. My relationship with Greg was in ruins, and my relationship with Emily, my own sister, was beyond repair. She had crossed a line, and now, she was pretending like I was the one at fault. I tried to move on, but the damage was done. I couldn't trust Emily again, and I couldn't look at Greg the same way. The betrayal was too much. The horror of it all would haunt me for the rest of my life.